I'm gonna cry. I did have two miscarriages, and those two miscarriages happened while we weren't talking, and a lot of the times I wanted to reach out because I needed all the support I could get, but because my pride was, I didn't want to lower my pride. I couldn't reach out. No matter how many times Donnie would tell me, just reach out, he'll be there.
Thank
Like,
you, Danny.
I never wanted to listen to anyone. I never wanted to listen, when mum would talk to me and be like, these are the times you need your siblings, you need your family most. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want him around. But deep down in my heart, I knew I wanted to reach out so many times.
So everybody, meet my baby sister Yvonne.
Hi, everyone.
Yvonne is coming straight to you from Sydney, Australia. And Sissy, we're just gonna jump right in there. We had a fallout, sibling fallouts. So I think because I've traveled a lot of the world, and honestly, I almost feel like every person I meet has had a fallout with their siblings, and
Yeah.
are either still not talking to their siblings, or they've been able to patch things like how you and I have patched things. So let's start from like, how do you recollect the whole story to when we fell out to coming back?
When I knew I had to really level up and, step my game up to already being a mum of one and already having two miscarriages, it was almost like God was telling me the time is not right because you're still missing that void in your heart. You're still not speaking to, an important person, a part of your life. And I'm not going to give you another human when you can't even look at life in a positive direction. So I just kept praying about it, kept asking God, why me? The first miscarriage was hard enough. Then the second miscarriage was even more hard. Still, yet, I didn't reach out to you. Like, I didn't know how to reach out to you. And I knew you knew of the miscarriages because of our other siblings. They did mention it to me. And I remember just crying to Donnie one night and just, I give up. I give up being negative. I give up being so angry as someone who, like, didn't really give me a reason to be angry. And I just felt like all that built up anger, my prideness, my stubbornness was one of the reasons it was blocking my blessing that was waiting for me on the other side. So Donnie just said to me, you know what you have to do? Reach out to him. And then I was like, how am I going to reach out to him? So on the low key, I used to stalk your page a lot of the times when we weren't talking.
Wait,
And
this is after you block me, you can stalk me.
when I blocked you, yeah. So I used to stalk you a lot of the times. And I was like, oh, I wonder what he's up to. I wonder what he's doing. And, when people would ask me like, oh, how's your brother doing? I'm like, what brother? And they're like, Sam. I'm like, oh, yeah, great. Like, completely disregard it. I knew like I didn't feel like it was a punishment from God in saying like, you're gonna have two miscarriages, but I felt like me being in such a negative mind space, headspace, it did lead to, the two miscarriages I had. So I just really prayed about it, and it was just time. Like, I was tired of being this way. I was tired of putting on a front, pretending to be happy when wholeheartedly I wasn't happy. How could I be happy when I'm not speaking to one of my siblings? My daughter gets to miss out on getting to know who her uncle is, and that's because of the choices I made as her mother, and it wasn't the right choices. You know, that's
Isn't it
that's
funny
too,
how we can blow something up? Because you mentioned that you were angry at me about really something that really
wasn't there.
wasn't really there, but how we can blow things up in our minds, and then like from other people's perspective and things like that. You remember details really precisely. Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
it's all in here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, it was basically just you coming over and asking if there is a problem. And I said my piece. I said what I needed to say, but it was more just so to shut the conversation down and just
Mm.
just be done with it. And then even though I did apologize, you
Mm.
knew that it didn't come from the heart because I didn't keep in tabs with you afterwards.
Mm.
Um, it just wasn't genuine. And then I feel like for myself, I found every opportunity I could just to go at it with you. Whether it was through mom, whether it was through one of our other siblings, there just there was just a lot of, I wouldn't say hatred because there was no hatred, but I
Mm.
think there just was a lot of built up what I think is anger, but it wasn't valid, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What in us makes us blow that way out of proportion when we become detached for how
Yeah,
long? A year and a half, 2 years. For
yeah.
you, what is like the life lesson for you, and what did you have to do to sort of level up so we could reconnect?
Owning it, owning what I did, owning my mistakes, taking a step back and looking at it, especially because I am a mom. I don't want my daughter growing up like that. And now that she does have a sibling on the way, it's just like, you don't want it. And, Ivani was still young at that age. And I think that's what I was doing was, this is not your uncle. You don't have to know him. It was just a lot of look back and,
Oh my God, that's a painful thing. No, no, I got it. I'm not taking anything personally, but I get it. We react emotionally out of pain.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she did help me in a big way because I honestly think if I didn't wasn't a mom, I honestly can wholeheartedly say I don't think I'll be talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds like she inspired you to seek different perspectives about human behavior, how we're educated culturally, socially, family wise.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, like you said, culture, because we do come from a culture, but I think this happens everywhere around the world,
Oh, 100%.
everywhere, like in all cultures where, we've seen like our parents have falling out with their siblings, then our
Hmm.
grand. So every generation I've literally seen since I've been alive have had fallings out with their siblings. Um, what do you think that is? Do you think that's just a human thing? And I like what you're doing to break the cycle because you're taking responsibility for your own perspectives. What do
Yeah.
you think that is?
I think it just comes down from what we've seen growing up. I think it comes down to pride. It
Yeah.
comes down to pride. I would say it is a human thing, but I think a lot of the times the arguments that do happen around from what we have seen growing up, it
Mm.
comes to pride, it comes down to pride, it comes down to stubbornness, and it
Mm.
comes down to always wanting to be right and never admitting you're wrong.
Like you said, they're always wanting to be right. And I'm going to admit too, because even when we clash, I wanted to be right. I want to be like, wow, I feel like I'm done wrong by, and I want to get my perspective heard, you know. And also, like we know, like there's probably a more loving way to address challenges, but we definitely both took the angry route, right?
Yeah.
And we both totally did that. Um, so what do you think? Because I don't know about you, but I never want to experience that ever again with
Yeah.
you or any other sibling. Um, what can we put into place? Like, what would you share that we could put into place that so families would avoid that?
I think open communication. Open
Mm.
communication, and if there is more than, two siblings in the picture, if another sibling comes and talks to you, it is okay to be their ears and their shoulder to lean on, but it's also not your job to sort of like put yourself into that situation that's happening between that sibling and another sibling. I think if you just keep the grounds mutual, and just give mutual advice, and then there will be no backstabbing, no behind talking, no miscommunication or anything like that.
Do you think we all just want to be heard? You know, like obviously we all think differently. We can have different perspectives. Sometimes we can
Mhm.
share the same perspective. Do you think at the core of it, we just want to be heard?
I think a lot of the times it is we want to be heard. Um, I think for some siblings, they might feel like they don't have a voice,
Mm,
um, especially if they come from a family with a lot of different personalities in the family, and if they feel like they're not being heard, they will go take a negative route for the voices to be heard. But then I think if the delivery is different to be able to get your point across and for your voice to be heard, then this could all be avoided. Because, like you said, there always is a different way to approach certain things.
yeah.
Um, and I think acting on emotion is a big thing. Like, is a big thing. I think sometimes you just need to take a step back, gather your thoughts, regroup, and then when you've calmed down and you feel like, now's the right time to address that person, I
Mm.
think the route can go a whole different way.
Oh, I agree. I recognize that it's definitely you have to make the intention to be safe, right? It has to be a safe
Yeah,
conversation, open and honest, and the willingness to try to understand the other person's perspective.
yeah,
I feel like is going to really help. So I love that you did reach out because it's funny that the day you reached out, and you know I do a lot of spiritual work and
yeah,
metaphysical work, and I literally just came out of a friend's spiritual ceremony, and
yes,
you came into my ceremony. You came into my ceremony, and it was like it's time to reconnect with Yvonne. It's time to like reach out and connect. But I literally just came out of ceremony, and literally 1 to 2 hours, within 2 hours, you had sent me that message reconnecting.
yeah.
So what do you think about that? Like our timing, it was just exact and very aligned. And what do you think that is for you?
It comes down like for me, the universes were pulling our worlds back together to reconnect, to realign. I think a lot of the times we are connected a lot more than we know. Um, so I just think our spirits knew, the universe knew it was time for us to, you know, let
Yeah.
let go of it and
Like,
just
like our souls were coordinating something beyond our human minds. And then it
100%.
both showed up. But even this interview now, you know, I reached out to you saying, I'd love to interview you about just whatever topics. And you were thinking about it for the last 2 weeks.
To it, yeah,
I,
yep.
you know, I feel like we're called to sort of speak on these things. What do you think of intuition? Do you believe in that? And how have you used it in your sort of family challenges?
I'll 100% believe in that. Um, I've used it in a lot of choices I've made with my family that's growing. Um, it's just like a gut feeling that you get, and it's just like if you don't act upon it, the feeling gets stronger. It gets stronger. You can go your own route, and you think that's the right way, but then there's just something at the back of you that's just like, do it this way. You know you have to do it this way, and you just find more peace in this route that I've shown you to take. So
Mm.
100% I believe in it. It's never it's never been wrong.
It's never steered you wrong.
No.
You know what I love about that with you is because I obviously got to see you grow up since you're a baby and seeing how you navigate life and how you navigate your senses.